So,
Hi,
welcome.
everybody.
Hi. Welcome to another episode of Latino World Travelers virtual travel parties. Today we have with us Victoria. She's going to introduce us to the big fat Greek vacation in Greece. So, OPA, are we ready to get this started? Thank you for being here,
Sure.
Victoria.
Of course, no problem. Thank you for having me.
And tell us, how was your vacation in Greece? We want to know it all.
So Greece was fantastic. For a lot of my followers, they saw that I went back in September of 2019. So this was around the low season time. Most people would travel out to Greece during August, July, June, hot summer. I decided to take off and do 2 weeks, a little bit after high season in September. So it was definitely one of the most funnest vacations I've taken. Took me some pre-planning, but a lot of it was kind of on the whim. Once we got to Athens, a lot of things were changed as time went on.
So you went in September. How was the weather in September?
So the weather is still very sunny. You get a lot of wind though, in comparison to, during the summer times. But you still have really nice, beautiful days. I think it also depends on what island you travel to. Depends on where, how the weather will change. Because the islands, believe it or not, in between each of them, they all kind of feel differently with the wind, the sun hitting them. But for the most part, I mean, it was pretty sunny. I would just say the wind was definitely heavier than summer.
Mm-hmm. And which islands did you go to?
So we went to Mykonos, which is probably the most traveled to island next to Santorini. And then we did Paros and we did Ios.
What was the difference between them?
So a lot of times I think, when you travel to Greece, you want to think of this like romantic vacation. Usually you go with your partner, a nice getaway. But I went with one of my best friends and we decided to do more of the party single scene.
Oh, wow.
So I did a lot of research on what islands would probably be the best to go to for, girls just going alone and wanting to have fun. So I found that Mykonos, Ios, and Paros were more of the party time. Mm-hmm. If you think about like what the culture is, the difference between them three, I would say a lot of the difference came with the actual architecture itself, and the age group that you'd find. Like Mykonos was a lot more of an older crowd. You saw a lot of American tourists. It was definitely way more expensive than the other two islands. But the actual vision, when you think of Greece islands, you think white and you think just like a lot of that, just complete white and sand. And Mykonos, believe it or not, had a lot of more of this rough sand to it. Not so much flowers, not so much green, but just more white architecture. Yes. And Paros was very much more flowers, more gardens, more of the green nature, and much more softer sands when it came to the beach.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it was also beautiful. I mean, I can't say which one was the most beautiful because they were all very unique and different. And then Ios was a lot more of a younger culture. That island was actually conquered by the British back in their history times. And so it has a lot of England taste to it with the food, the type of music people listen to, just kind of like the people that live there. A lot of them are from Britain. So it was a lot much more smaller too. So you can get around in an afternoon and cover the whole island.
Is that true that they don't have cars in those islands?
So some of them don't have a lot of access to cars. I would say Eos would be one where you wouldn't be able to easily rent a car at. But all the islands that I went to, Paros is pretty big, and Mykonos definitely, they have an airport. You can actually get to Mykonos through an airport. But they have a lot of access to cars. And the ferries, when you rent to go from island to island, they actually, depending on how fast you want to get there, but they have options for you to take your car. So you can rent your car in Athens or Mykonos, and then just take it into the ferry as you go from island to island.
Oh, wow. That's good. And where do you have to get your ticket in advance if you're going to take the ferry, or can you just show up and get the ticket right there?
So that's where a lot of our on the whim kind of came in. So we didn't buy our ferry prices until the day of, or not the day of, but the night before. But we started to notice that during when we were going, there was some strikes going on. So we have to be cautious of what ferries are going to go on strike. Ferry Hopper was a pretty reliable website, but I do recommend, if you want cheaper ferry tickets, to buy them in advance. I would say a month is pretty good. After a month, you start seeing the prices kind of increase within a weekly basis.
Okay, that's good. Great. And what kind of things did you do? Like in Mykonos, you said it was more touristy, older crowd, expensive. So what did you do there?
In Mykonos, we did a lot of going out to eat at their, nice restaurants. There's two parts of the island that really people go to. One of them is where the Paradise Beach is, which is probably the exact opposite of where the dock takes you to. The Paradise Beach is there's more of the clubs. There's big clubs there that everyone goes to. There's resorts on that side of town. But then on the side where Mykonos town, you've seen that famous photo. I posted one of my today where the windshields are at. That's actually Mykonos town. And you will find like shopping, and shopping is open till like 10, 11 p.m. You'll also find like a lot of nice restaurants. And the cool part is that it's so knit close. You can literally go from like bar to bar to bar, restaurant, like right next to each other, even from behind. So it's really easy access to get from place to place once you're in Mykonos town. Now, a lot of people rent scooters to kind of look at the entire island. But as far as things to do, we just went to different dock areas for restaurants and enjoyed the beaches a lot there.
Wow. And what beach did you go to?
We spent a lot of time in Paradise Beach, since our resort was really close. But that beach was really nice. Yeah, it was kind of far away from everything, and since it was September, it wasn't as packed as what it would be in the summer. And then once we obviously went into Mykonos town, we did spend some time right by the Mykonos like dock where the windshields are at. But I will say that the beaches in Mykonos were not my favorite, just because of how much rock you found on the sand.
Okay, got it. And how is the temperature in the water?
It's actually not bad. I wouldn't say it's, Caribbean type where you walk in and it's right away warm. It definitely takes some time to kind of feel like getting used to it. But it was, for the most part, you can dip into the water still in September.
Oh, cool. And then you went was Mykonos the first island that you went to?
Mykonos was the first island. We actually met up with some friends that were there since we were celebrating a birthday. But after Mykonos, we took off to Paros.
Oh, and how did you get there? What did you do there? Where did you stay?
We stayed, so Paros is actually a really big island, and a lot of the locals were telling us that Paros is a mixture of Mykonos and Santorini kind of put together. Santorini definitely has more of, I haven't been, but based on the photos and what people were telling me, Santorini has more of the white houses. But in Mykonos, and it's more, like I said, more of the rocks, and Paros, you kind of have both. And then you have flowers and roses everywhere. And if you saw the photo that I sent to you guys that you posted, that was actually taken
It
in
was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. We actually had plans to go to Milos. Milos is a white cave island in Greece. But because of, you know, the strikes going on, we decided to just extend our trip in Paros. In Paros, because we absolutely loved it. Paros actually has two sides to it as well. You have like Paros dock area. Right when you get there, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of little cafes. A lot of people do stay there because it's less expensive than to stay by the fishing market, which is up north of the Paros Island. The fishing market is kind of where we stayed by. It's, believe this or not, I got an Airbnb right off the beach for $34 a night during off season.
What? That is amazing. That is a great price.
$34. So that was probably, our room had a balcony view to the entire like town and the fish market of Paros. And that area is kind of where all the locals live, and all the restaurants are again right off in front of the water, and there are also like a lot of bars behind it, so everything is super quick to get to and around. I think we went for dinner. We went to dinner every night we were there, and during this off season we were able to have dinner for two and get a bottle of wine. The bottle of wine, a full 1 liter, would be like €8, and two dinner dishes together would probably be like €15. So in total, with the full liter of wine, you're spending about less than €30.
That is great.
It's fantastic. I live in New York, and I'm like, can we get these prices? I know, like, this was so much better than having, okay, I can't say better than some places in New York, but definitely more affordable, and it's just as beautiful with the water right in front of you. And the people there are so welcoming. Everyone will show you around. If you're there long enough, the people there already start to know who you are, because it's that small, you know? And because it's off season, you don't see as many tourists or people coming in. A lot of the people that actually travel to these other islands during off season are actual like people that live in Athens or Europeans, other countries, but you don't see that same American tourist people that you see in Mykonos.
Okay. And people, how did they treat you? Were they welcoming? The actual
Oh my God.
people?
So welcoming. They wanted to know like why we chose Paros, why we chose Eos, because it's not typical. They would invite us to they do this shot at the end of dinner. It's like a sweet shot. I can't remember the name of it, but they have this after every dinner, and they'd always invite it. It was their way of saying thank you for coming to my island and having dinner at my restaurant, and that was great. The people there were awesome.
That is really good. And the food. Tell us about the food. What was your favorite dish? What kind of things did you eat? Are you adventurous with your food?
So I'm adventurous to a certain extent because I'm a vegetarian. So at that, it's really hard to kind of step out of certain, meats, or I don't eat fish either. So I missed out on a lot of that, but they have amazing pastas. I wouldn't even be able to tell you like what my favorite was, because like I feel like every night we tried something new, and I was like, does it ever not taste good? They do have a lot of pastas though, so I kind of found that surprising. You think pasta, you think Italy. And no, they had a lot of pasta. They definitely serve a lot of fish as well. And you're in the water, so they have all kinds of different fish. So for those of you guys who are adventurous with food, it's so cheap. Having a really fancy, nice dinner every night in Paros is so affordable.
And do you think for vegetarians and even vegans, they have a good variety of meals and foods throughout Greece in general?
Yeah, I think in all of Greece, probably more or less like Mykonos and Athens were a little bit more options for those that were vegan. Vegetarians, it's a lot more easier because you can order like a risotto or like spaghetti and just leave the meat out. And everything is cooked right then and there. Like you order it and it's freshly made, so they can do those accommodations.
Yes, you're getting me hungry now.
I know, right? I'm ready for dinner.
And then you went to Ios, is that how you say it?
Eos, maybe, I may not be pronouncing it right. IOS.
Yes.
Yes.
So tell us about that, because that's the party island, like what you said, right?
Yeah, so they have this big party island every year called Far Out Beach. Far Out Beach is also a resort and a club. Unfortunately, during off season, they're also not operating. So the last it's like Ibiza in a way, from Spain. But they still have a lot of other bars that stay open all night. And the crowd is a lot more younger. You think like more hippie, a little bit more laid back. And like I said, the island is so small, you can probably walk through the entire place in an afternoon. We didn't spend too much time there. I will say that island, with the weather, since it's small, the wind hits it a lot harder. When it comes to when we were there, the wind was really, really bad. We couldn't even stand outside for that long because it was so cold. So we didn't really spend as much time during the day exploring. We'll say we were guilty of going out and probably staying out all night and enjoying that part. But that was whenever that night, the lady was like, you guys should check to see if you want to stay here for an extra day or not, because the ferries are going on strike. So unfortunately, after a day, we had to make a decision if we wanted to risk staying there and getting stuck, or going ahead and moving on to the next island. But that's when we realized that we just wanted to go back to Paros and really spend more time there. We went back to Paros.
That's very good. Now, when you say it got cold, like how cold, and what were you wearing?
So I was in shorts and a bathing suit with like a cover up, and it probably felt like 65, but the winds were so high. So it didn't feel good being outside. There was like not a soul on the beach because it was so windy. All the chairs were put away. So that is the downside with traveling to islands in the downtime. Now, not all islands were like that, because Paros didn't feel like that. But that's why it's really good if you want to go during off season, kind of figure out what islands are probably going to be more or less what you want to see, and then figure out what the temperature is like while you're there, because you don't want to get stuck in a situation where you're looking forward to being in the sunbathing, and then like this wind just ruins the entire vacation.
Yes, absolutely. So what is there to do besides exploring around, walking around, and eating good food, relaxing? What else is there to do in those islands?
So you can also go fishing with some people. They do have like a lot of the islands that I did see, they offered, you go to the dock where all the fishermen or whatnot have their boats, and they do different like scenes to take you out, see other islands from afar. What I will say and recommend is, so Paros actually has an island at the bottom called Anti-Paros. So it's kind of like a smaller island attached to it. And Milos is the White Cliff Island of Greece. So that's the one where if you've seen photos of just like white background caves and people jumping into the water in Greece, that's Milos. But what most people don't know is that Antiparos also has one. So they also have the cliff jumping. So you can take a boat, they'll take you around the island, they'll talk to you about the ancient Greek times, and then they'll park the boat, and you can jump off and take your pictures, stay on the water. So that's another cool part in case you don't make it out to Milos, because Milos is another really expensive island, just because it's getting all that facade like Mykonos and Santorini. You can do the same thing in Paros with a much more affordable budget.
Did you jump out of the cliff?
No, we went to go do we went to go do the boat, but they only had one running during off-season.
Oh,
And that was
okay.
early morning, and we thought it was still the normal schedule.
Okay.
So
So be mindful
pre-planned.
of the schedule as well
Yes,
because it
it
changes
changes.
in low season. Okay.
Yes. But we
Right.
did go to Antiparos, and you do see in like how the different cave sides of it is. You can also rent a car in Antiparos. So we drove around a little bit, but we didn't get to go on the boat and actually jump off.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, maybe next time, since you loved it so
Oh,
much, you probably will go
yeah.
again.
So obviously right now during this pandemic, it's really hard to make any plans. We don't know when Europe will open up, or much less even be safe to travel.
Yeah, let's just pray.
Yeah, we're crossing fingers. If things can get back to normal, we're hoping to be there in October. And if not, then we'll just have to plan for next year. I definitely don't think, unless you want like a big crowd, and unless you like, to be in much more filled up cities, which a lot of people do for certain reasons, whether it's bachelorette parties, or maybe you just want to have more fun with like more other strangers, which is always a great time. I absolutely loved being there in off season. I mean, the prices were just phenomenal, and not to mention just being able to have more of that slow pace and not have to wait in line at a dinner table, or to get into the ferries weren't that expensive as it is during season. So it just depends on what you want, but I absolutely loved it. If I go back, I'll definitely go back during off season again.
Yes, nice. Someone is asking, did you drink osu? Is the Greek liquor that borderlines being on drugs? I didn't
Oh
know
my
about
god.
that.
No one said that unless it was the drink that the guy said that this is the Greek famous drink, and he gave us a shot of it. If that's the same thing, it didn't make me feel hallucinogen or anything, but it was very sweet. It wasn't my favorite per se. I think the Greek definitely loves sweet. We got some of the wine there, and they favored sweet wine, and I'm not too much of a sweet person, but I definitely always give everything a try.
Okay, very, very cool. Were there any drinks besides that one that you tried?
No, wine is really big in Greece, so we definitely stuck to a lot of wine and tasting the different wines that they had. I don't remember if like one particularly was like, oh, this is like, I want to buy a bottle. But we did venture off into their dry wines and more of their sweeter side. Red was typically what we stick to.
Is there a favorite wine that you tasted and you were like, I'm taking this wine back home kind of thing?
I always do that. Everywhere I travel, if I go to Italy, I go to Cape Town, I just came back and I do that. But in Greece, unfortunately, nothing like really stood out that I absolutely love. But I think what it was is that when you're on the islands, I feel like it's just so diverse and you're just taking something every day. There wasn't any wineries per se that we saw. I think had we been more inland, I think definitely I would have gotten a bottle or something, visited an actual vineyard and learn more about how they make it and where they make it, and taking something home.
Did you go only to the islands or did you go to Athens? I know you mentioned something about that.
I spent a day in Athens, but I didn't, besides the Acropolis, which I went from the outside to see it, I didn't go into the tour because the lines are always long. I didn't really spend as much time in Athens. I definitely need to go give inland more of a exploration. So Athens was for a day, but it wasn't anything compared to the islands.
Yes, I can imagine. Anything else that you would like to share with us?
Let me think. I mean, I have like the photos that I can show you guys on how the
Absolutely.
differences looked. Let me see if I can pull them up. Okay. So as you can see, I'm gonna pull up this video here. Let me see if I can. Oh, hold on. I forgot to do the screen sharing. Okay. Okay, so this here is how Mykonos looks, and I'm gonna move this. This is how most of Mykonos looked. White. You see, this kind of has the Flintstone look. It's all white, pebble looking, and it was beautiful. And most of the places that you'll walk around in town, they all the streets look like this. It's so you can easily get lost. Is what I always say. This was also in Mykonos. The cool part about Mykonos is you can run into little corners that were like this, and you can tell that the people, they hang their clothes outside. You know, it's very, they don't have like a laundry washer dryer like we do. Most of it's the island life, so you wash it, maybe they have a washer for that, but most of their clothes, you'll walk around the town and you see everyone hangs their clothes out. Yes. So this was Paros, and this is how every house, you see there's more green. There's trees. Most of Paros looked like that everywhere you went. Let's see here.
Did they have donkeys to transport you within the islands?
Donkeys?
I
didn't see any donkeys. There's a lot of four-wheelers people would rent.
Okay.
Now, renting four-wheelers, though, you do have to keep in mind that some islands require you have a license to be able to have them. You can easily Google it on Google. You know, if you look up Grace Island license for four-wheelers, then they'll have them available for you to take. So just if you're gonna rent a four-wheeler there, just have that in mind. Some islands didn't ask for it. I know for sure Mykonos does. But smaller islands like Antiparos, they'll probably just give you the four-wheeler rental.
Yes.
This here was Eos Island, and let me see, hold on. If you can tell, I'm trying to rewind it. You see how it's a lot more of a landscape, not so much houses, not so much white, very desert-like. And they have a lot of churches. Eos, for some reason, party island, but a lot of churches that are like, or temples, I should say, that are like this. And like every corner.
Yeah. So everything is so picturesque.
In like every corner.
Picture worthy.
Yeah. There is a famous restaurant in Mykonos called Mykonos Sunset. Sunset Mykonos. And it's the best point to watch the sunset come down. This restaurant's famous. I mean, but usually it's a wait to get inside. Even off season, I had to wait a little bit to actually get in, and the drinks are pretty pricey. Of course, it's Mykonos, so you can't. When I say Mykonos is pricey, think like New York and LA type of prices. Yeah.
So do you have to make reservations or they don't allow reservations?
No. You probably could make reservations, but everybody just went in for the line. You stand, and you can either choose bar. And if you choose bar, you definitely don't need a reservation. If you choose the restaurant, you'll probably be better off making reservations beforehand.
But to take the pictures with the sunset, do you have to eat, or there is just a line for the pictures and that's it?
No, you just go, there's couches, you can sit down on the floor and watch the sunset. They don't charge you, but they do make you pay for a 2-drink minimum.
Okay.
And this one here is in Paros. I just want to show you guys what I was able to get for $34 a night, because to be honest, this is like my favorite place. It's so cute and everything you need in one. So as you're walking in, we have a kitchen, a stove. This is primarily how all kitchens looked on the island. A basic like 2-bedroom, and then we get to walk out and you get to see the entire view right there, all the white houses, the beach area. It was just perfect for $34 a night. and most places here, because this is an Airbnb, most places in this area actually are about that price. You know, they're all, you know, very, very low price, and you get
And
really
that's by the fish market, right?
by the fish market in Paros,
Mm-hmm.
correct. Yes. It's beautiful.
Very
And the
good.
easy thing about each island as well is that they have buses that run on a regular schedule to get you from one side of the island. Like bigger islands like Paros, you know, you can't just go from the dock to the fishing market walking. It's going to take you all afternoon. Smaller islands like Eos, they do have buses, but you don't necessarily need them. Mykonos is another one. Really easy to use. So typically you just ask your, you know, at the lobby, what bus takes me to Mykonos town, and they'll give you a bus schedule. It's about €1 and like 70 cents each bus.
That's
way.
really cheap. Mm-hmm.
Really cheap. I would say taxis are pricey just because there's not a lot. There's not a lot of taxis. So we usually knew that if the bus stopped running at 10 and we were going to stay out later, we'd take the bus there and then just split a taxi ride back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how did you get the taxis? Was there an app that you used, or you just like called a number?
Good question. Right where the buses actually drop you off, that's where all taxis have to go. So there's a taxi pickup spot like in every island. Okay. You just go up to the taxi pickup spot and they'll pick you up and drop you off. Another cool thing with Airbnb though, that I absolutely love is that a lot of these, and when I travel international, a lot of people that I've booked a room with will either refer me a driver in the area or their actual drivers themselves, and will take you from place to place. One of my best friends, she's actually on the Instagram right now, Jasmine. She went with us to Mykonos, and she her Airbnb guy picked her up and drove her where she needed to go when he could. He was an absolute, and give her all the tips that she asked for Mykonos. So she had a lot of insight for us when we got there as well.
That is beautiful. That is great. Now, what was the best activity, like the activity that you enjoy the most while there?
My favorite activity, I don't know. Is it bad if I say I love all the bars?
No.
I mean, the purpose of going to my vacation was, you know, it was a girl's vacation. And typically, if you go to my Instagram, you'll see that I do, you know, take different things. Like I just went swimming with sharks and, you know, Cape Town, and I would take the time to explore more. But this vacation for me was like relax and have fun, you know? So I that's what I meant by I didn't do as much planning, but I absolutely loved the culture as far as the nightlife. When it comes to nightlife here, I would say so affordable. People are so welcoming. And there was a lot of bars where people were playing live music, where people were, you know, just like there's DJs from other cities that were in. And that was the cool part. It was just, it wasn't just like one type of music. It wasn't just one sort of like one culture or anything. It was very diverse in all the bars you went to. I mean, you had reggaeton playing. They absolutely love Hispanic music. So that was surprising to me too, but I mean, that was great. So I think my favorite thing was being able to feel welcomed, and there wasn't never like a dull moment when I wanted to go out and explore with my friends.
That's good. It's always great when you are able to have a whole experience in a country, and like everybody embraces you and it's just a good time. Because there could be so many things that could go wrong, but when you have those experiences where everything was great, it's so good.
Definitely. I mean, like I said, these people going on strike was something that caught us off guard. We were not planning on ferries not working or you know, having their daily schedules. So we had a decision. Do we continue on our schedule going to 2 more islands, or do we just kind of bounce to something else? And even though our plan was to only spend 3 days in Paros, having spent a week there, I absolutely loved it. And I highly recommend, if you're stuck between where to go and you only have a certain amount of budget and you want to have romantic vacation, or you want to have a party vacation, or you want to go cliff jumping, Paros is definitely the island that I say you must go to. You get like Mykonos and Santorini in one. Like the locals say that. So if the people are saying that from there must be a reason.
Yes, absolutely. And it's crazy because you usually hear, oh, go to Mykonos and go to Santorini. But you giving us this perspective that Paris is the actual place to go. I like that, because then now we get firsthand experience from someone that was there. Right. Yes.
So beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, can you tell them, because they can hear me in Instagram?
If you guys have any questions on Instagram or here live on Zoom, please ask me. If you guys do, feel free to ask anything.
Yes, they say they can hear me through Instagram, so at least.
We tried. We had some technical problems, but we kind of made it work.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being here, guys, for joining us, even though you can't hear me.
I know. Thank you guys for having me. If you guys have any questions at all during any time, or if you're planning a trip to Greece, definitely feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. It is at Vix Adventure. And if you guys at any point need any help planning this trip, feel free to, send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to send all my details or insights on it.
Beautiful. Here in Zoom, do you guys have any questions? Flavia, Brian, Lisandra, any questions about Greece? I went to Greece, I want to say 5 years ago with my students. I used to travel with my students for 7 years. So
wow.
And that was one of the countries that we went, and I had a fabulous time. The food was the best food ever out of all the trips that I did with my students. So I really enjoyed it.
As I said, that's why I said, I don't know if I could choose anything that's my favorite. I absolutely love, the fact that we were able to go to a nice dinner every night, and I kept saying, this is only getting better.
Yeah. Their ice cream is really good.
Yeah, they're sweets. They definitely like dessert.
Yes, absolutely. Well, they're saying they don't have any questions, I guess.
All right, great. Well, thanks everybody again for having me. No donkey, someone said. Yeah, I didn't see any donkeys. Maybe Mykonos had, I saw a couple, but I wouldn't say they stood out to me. But I definitely didn't see any in Paros or Eos, no donkeys. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that some islands, they want to give you a tour, and since they don't allow cars, that's why they have donkeys for people to navigate and go all the way up.
Yeah. I saw a lot of four-wheelers, but no, I saw a lot of cats, a lot of cats.
Really?
It was like Cat Island after Cat Island. Don't know why. That was
so
really
if you're
fun.
allergic to cats, maybe don't go there.
Yeah, but they spend their time outside. It's not, but there was a lot. It's funny. Mm-hmm. My favorite food for adventure, as I was telling her, I probably don't have a favorite food. It sounds bad. The risotto was amazing, but all the pastas I had, I guess just the tomato sauce there is also, everything just tasted much more natural. When you go to international places, the food just tastes fresh. And I was saying earlier, everything is made right when you order. Nothing is held on to, ready. So if you're vegetarian, you can easily order a risotto without just the mushrooms and the cream sauce, and not worry about it having any fish, because that's what they eat, a lot of fish. You'll find a lot of fish on the islands on the menu. But I had to definitely say that the food was the pasta was my favorite.
Yummy. So who's getting ready to go to Greece soon when this is all over?
We are all going back. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, for saying yes, for supporting this, being part of Latino World Travelers. Oh, thank you. And to many more travels when we can hopefully soon.
For sure.
I know
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that are going through a very hard time right now. So we hope everyone is healthy and that we can resume to sharing experiences with people and just living happily ever after, right?
For sure. Appreciate what you have right now, and we'll be traveling before you know it.
Yes. Thank you. Gracias.
Bye. Ciao.
Adios.